RoxaMillion Unleashed. I'm RoxaMillion, and I want you to get a pen. I want you to call a friend, but I want you to stay tuned in. We're going to talk today about the motto of mamahood. Not motherhood, don't get it twisted. The motto of mamahood. We're going to talk about mamas, especially my mama, and what that spirit has done for our lives to go forward and take our good to great. Today I have one of my media sisters in studio. Margot, would you introduce yourself?
Listen, my name is Good Morning, and it's a pleasure to be here with my sister. I'm here to say that this is going to be an exciting show. We're talking about not just a single woman, but a woman who wore many, many hats. This woman was dynamic. So, Roxy, let me just let you continue to let this flow.
Okay. So today, I know that mothers are very special to each and every one of us, and we don't really understand their value, Margot, until they're no longer here. As much as we do for our parents as we live this life, it's when they're gone that you remember every little thing that they've said and done and taught you, and the stuff that you thought was like really like weird and a little offshoot. You find yourself kind of patterning your behavior right behind the thing you thought was crazy and out of control. And so I want to maybe help a young woman that's listening to us understand that mamas are a little different from just mothers. And we can talk about, yes, how we come to this place. Women have the ability to take something from the spiritual world and birth it into the earth. I mean, we're just different from men. Yes. So we have a different kind of power, but once it's here, we have an innate ability to nurture that thing into a greatness. And so I want to talk a little bit about my mother today in tribute to a woman that went before me, and I mean, she laid it all out. She poured it out, and if I don't have it, it's my fault, because she gave everything that she had to make sure that she pulled her children out of poverty, that she made us decent citizens, and that she made us respect service. And so I think that came from like her spiritual background, that she believed in a power higher than herself, and what she ate, she fed her children. You know, mamas taste test stuff. They don't just feed their kids stuff. They taste it first and then say, this is good enough for my child to digest.
Well, let's listen. Let's get into this a little bit, because I was at her homecoming, and it was an exciting time for me because I sat in the audience of listening to somebody that I have seen several times, and each time this lady was like a powerhouse. She was as tall as the Sears Tower to me.
Only 5'2".
But however, the accolades kept on rolling. And I kept trying to figure out, and I kept taking notes. I just wrote all over her obituary front. Every page is full. But however, the takeaway for me is never stop believing in community. And what she shared is an example of who you are today, because I see a lot of those, a lot of her spirit in you. And I think that certain things can't be taught into you. It has to be birthed into you. Now, if anything else, and anybody else that may know anything, you know about birthing. So I know God placed her here because it's impossible for one woman to be able to have ran that race like she did. So let us talk a little bit more about her, and only you can tell the story.
Yeah, and you know what's so interesting is in the transition of her life, I had to really wrestle with my older brother and my son, because her request was not to have a funeral. Her request was not to have this body that no longer has the spirit in it laid in front of anyone. She wanted people to remember their last time with her. And the wrestling match began because I have a younger son who has lived with my mother, but he only knows his grandmother. And I said, she was so much bigger than your grandmother.
Yes.
And I think having the memorial service did what it was set out to do, is that it showed him, you had a grandmother, I had a mother, but this community had a legacy. They had a leader. They had a lady They had a lady one that had class.
Yes.
She didn't compromise. She didn't back down, whether it was male or female opponents. And she was a beast. She ate them up. You know, she had something on her mind, Margot. They had something to wrestle with.
Listen, it was obvious. One side of the podium of the church, one side of the pulpit of the church had her in a Wonder Woman's outfit. And then on the other side, she had on canary yellow.
Yes.
And that was the lady, just elegant lady, petite lady.
Yeah.
And it was like Wonder Woman, petite lady,
Yes.
matriarch,
Yes.
community
Yes.
activist.
Say that.
Oh my goodness, I can't say them all.
Yes, and you know what's so funny, because when you it's so many different perspectives. When they did the life-size photos, right? And I approved them both. You know why that yellow canary was there? I'm gonna crack you up. I wanted to preach one Sunday, and I wanted ruffle sleeves, and I ordered that dress online in my size. But when it came to the house, Margot, I couldn't fit it. Was mad, had to go to Ashley Stewart's, find me something quick to wear. My mother went to a retirement banquet and rocked it. And that's the kind of babe this my mother was. She could just take something simple, put her little touch to it, and bling. She would blow it out the water.
Her hair was what color?
Blonde.
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 And canary yellow.
You know how many people told my mother she was too black to wear blonde? She rocked it. She rocked it. Whatever she touched, she authentically made it her own. And you know why? And there's something that you talk to me about all the time. Being your authentic self. Whoever is listening to me, nobody cares about your lips, hips, fingertips, your shoes, or hairdo. They're trying to figure out who you are authentically. My mother taught us to work and to go to school. However, she didn't teach us to do lashes, nails, and all of that stuff, because she knew the exterior is not who you are. Even if you got the job, that didn't define who you were as a person.
Yes.
And so she made sure that we were our authentic selves. What you work to do is how you earned your money, who you are, reflected on her. And my mother was very intentional that whatever we did in the street had something to do with her.
Yes.
And I think that's the model of mommahood. When mamas send their kids out, grown or otherwise, and they still feel a connection that whatever you do in the street reflects back home.
Yes.
And you better govern yourself accordingly, or you got a tiger to tangle with. And I feel that now.
Yes.
I felt that then. If I didn't represent right.
Well, you represent well, so let me just tell you this. I have never seen you in a baggy pair of blue jeans. I've never seen you with no gym shoes. I have never seen you with a pair of gym shoes on that didn't have some bling on it. And then I've never seen you in a do-rag. Listen, every time I've seen you, you represented what the way that they described her legacy, that's what I've seen in you all the time. So I thank Almighty God that she laid a foundation. And she left the foundation for me, not just you, sister, because I got some of that.
Okay. And I love it, because I've had, when you have a mother who is community, who is serving, as a child, and I'm so sure so many younger people can relate to this kind of mamahood. You got to share her, and you have to share her sometimes sacrificially. Because when she says she's going to be someplace, she's going to be there, and she's going to be there on time. And if by chance her children have to wait a little longer for her to get back to them, that she would service the community, that's what we had to do, and we had not to complain. We could not complain. What are you complaining for? You have me 24/7. They have me for an hour. Get yourself, get your mind right.
But see, this skating thing. Let's talk about this woman on skates.
Woman at 74
and could jam on skates. She was a stepper on 4 and could jam on skates. She was a stepper on skates.
Let me say this. My mother, she said, if you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all. And so when she went into skating, it's a legacy in our family that my grandmother skated, she skated, and then she taught her children to skate. But my mother didn't want to be like us. You know, we used to do the, she wasn't that.
Yeah.
So she learned how to dance on the skates like they ice skate. So she would have certain skating partners.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody knew she was bad. And,
Yeah.
you know, the brothers that were like trying to get a little sunshine or come up and they said, well, you know, would you like to skate? She's like, no, I have a skating partner, you know? So she had certain people that she would skate with, and it was imaging because her image was who she created, and she wasn't gonna back down from it. So if you couldn't skate and you wanted to skate with Miss Lillian, no go, no bueno. You know, and I love the fact that she had intention about how she presented her authentic self, and she didn't let anybody compromise.
So let's go to this area that shares with millions across the world her love for animals.
In planning that memorial service, I'm not as close to my brother as most sisters are. But I mean, it was an education for him. My mother had rescued 22 dogs over our lifetime. When we started going through the name, she made it an issue that she wasn't going to buy a full breed dog. She didn't plan to, sell dogs. She planned to give them, a home that was caring and loving. And she wanted them to be with a person who was the same way. And I told her, if I die before you, I want to come back and be your dog. Because my mother, I've never seen a wife, I think we jealous of the dog. She spent more money letting those dogs have forever homes.
Yeah.
And I mean, shampoo, clip, nails. They eat certain kind of dog food,
Yeah.
and their skin used to look like mink coats.
Yeah.
She was, the upkeep that she did on dogs she rescued out of a shelter was unimaginable. And I watched her rescue dogs that were hopeless, just like humans. And then they walked around like they were, King Kong and baby. Y'all doing over here? Y'all know that's my seat. She had furniture just for her dogs to sleep on. She had matching, my mother's a Virgo woman, so she had matching dog cups, and the little, what do they call the placemats to put, the dog food on. So everything in her house, and she was particular like that, everything in her house had either a place to be or wasn't in her house. She had no problem with letting things go if they didn't have a place to be in the house.
Yeah, let's go to a higher level. Let's go to this community. Let's go where the people that were in the room were like mayors and police officers, and I saw more men, veterans, hugging and kissing each other and crying throughout the ceremony. These were people that she fed. These are people that she motivated to be their greatest self. So tell me about the politician.
So Lillian started out as an activist. She would see something wrong, and she was one that would see something and say something. But then when she realized that your behind was not listening, she would turn up the volume. And her way of turning up the volume was getting people involved. She was a movement. Here's a good example of the two. During COVID, they closed the roller skating rink in Markham. And she said, daughter, I'm not having it. I mean, this is a legacy roller skating rink. This is decades of us going there. And they act like this is just some kind of business that closed. And she said, God ain't going out of business. That was a God-filled place because people became one with one another. This woman started a movement, went up to Markham doing one of their meetings, had a congregation of people, skaters, ice skaters, and they gave that man, you hear me, the business. Even in a COVID situation, he had to almost guarantee that they were not going to tear that place down and they were going to see what they could do, as a village of Markham to open it back up. And that was one lady in a room not satisfied, pissed off with the politicians because she wasn't a name brand Negro, She didn't go and get Jesse to come talk about it. She went and talked about it herself. But that that is something I will never forget about her womanhood, is that she wasn't an echo. She was a voice. When she spoke, she wanted everyone to listen because she felt she was a little woman with a lot to talk about. And she got the attention of the politicians, even in our village. When those seniors were not getting the service in their homes, flooding outside their homes, mail not being delivered on time, Lillian Bacon was up in the mayor's, gave him the business. Every mayor from Donald side can go through them. All's mayor, she didn't care who they were. She cared that they did not serve and have an attitude of service. Like she said, this is not self-service. This is service, meaning that you serve outside. Not ancestors. She's bad.
So you know what this testimony is a testimony that should go across the United States of America, because number one, it's going to take a whole lot of this. What's your mother's name? Lillian Bacon, all over in every little small town, large town throughout the United States to stand up and be able to fight for the people, even though the people are withdrawing and they're scared, they're talking one to the other. But if she was here today, what would she tell people that are sitting in barbershops and in stores and they're talking across the counter to each other, but it's not reaching the multitude?
She would probably start by motivating and telling them that you're powerful.
Yes.
But you're not powerful individually. You're powerful collectively.
Yes.
And that if there's anything that moves in your atmosphere, you have the power to move it. You just have to hone that power, know how to successfully use that power, and always use that power for good. I think that's what she would say. I think even the legacy she leaves here is that when I'm not satisfied with something, we're on RoxaMillion Unleashed because I want to have an opportunity to not be the echo, but be the voice, and to take things that are important to our communities and move it into a media circle where you have to hear what we're talking about. You have to know what our issues are, and how can you know them if you don't know us? And so I'm bringing the people to the politicians.
And this unleashed part came as a result of what? What were you doing and what were you thinking about when the word unleashed came?
You know what? Actually, my mother was in the thought, because I'm an only daughter, which means I'm the only female behind her. And when you walk behind a powerful woman, you always understand your place. If you live in her house, there's only going to be one woman in that house. All you young people that live with your mamas with that mouth going, understand me. Only one woman in that house. Till you have your own house, you ain't a real woman. Woman up, anyways.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I knew early on that I had to dial some of me back in order for her to have the honor and the respect that I think younger women ought to give older women. Whether they're declining or not, you still owe them that honor. So with her transition, I felt empowered. I watched the queen, I watched her rule the kingdom, I watched her rule the men, I watched her rule the women, and I watched her do it with a sense of balance. She was never arrogant, she was always humble, she was very soft-spoken, but she said what she said, and you got her point. And she never had to be this, what we call the mad black woman. She did it with intelligence. She did it with knowledge. She got the statistics. She gave you the numbers. She let you know, no, you're on camera. This is what you said. I'm not saying something you didn't say. This is what you said. And she knew how to dial you back up and put you back in your own face. And so those are things you won't learn in a university. Those are things you ain't gonna learn out of textbook. That's a model of Mommahood, where she shows you how to take that issue. And then she says, it's you. Figure out how you fit in that issue.
Yes.
And now bring it back to the community as an activist, as an advocate. And so that's what lives in me now. I thought I wanted to be a politician, Margot. Yes. But I think that my
we've been at the table with this before.
I think that my journey is to be that activist, that advocate for the people who are unsung heroes, people who don't even use their voice. And you and I are spiritual women, and it says, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. So folk got to learn how to open their mouths.
Yes.
And the other thing she taught is you know, even though you might be an alpha woman and walk alone, when you deal with community issues, never be alone. So she's shown me how to take a group on the same issue, put them together, and then go address the issue.
Absolutely.
And it's something about when there is many, the movement moves a little faster.
But you know what? It's a powerful thing to be able to look at a woman or be in the company of a woman, and although she is as powerful as she is, but she has the utmost respect for men. I happen to be one that favors men more than anything else, and sometimes I think women are a little bit too strong. But in her case, what I saw in that church was men who was high-fiving each other and holding on to each other as if a tsunami has hit and asking each other, what are we going to do now?
Now, see, I'm going to say ouch before I say amen, because you absolutely right. My mother, either she loved me really well, because she definitely spoiled my brother and my son. She just had a passion for men. And it's like Build-A-Bear. She just knew how to turn them. She knew how they tick. She knew how to get in their mind, work them around to where she wanted them to be and position them properly. And so I think I don't know if she learned that technique from my grandmother, because we've had a matriarchal kind of family. But when she went into community activism, she also ran the men the same. You know, if the sister hadn't had her mind right, she would have been bad on the street too. Because she knew how to position the men, just like God positioned Adam. She knew how to position them and then move their hand. I used to call it a puppet master. They think they talking, but she put the words in their mouth, you know. And wherever they move, I know Lillian is somewhere in the background saying, okay, don't do that for that woman, and see how loud this issue is. You know. So I think that she had a passion for men. Now, she was a dresser, so I know, you know, she wasn't a woman. She was a man woman, but she knew how to work them. You know, my mother had a background. She wasn't perfect, but she knew how to work them brothers.
And you know what, it is important to understand that, because now, you know, you're looking at a community, you're looking at a world, and it is so much degrading on both sides till we now have to take a stance. And that stance is, as a mother who has a son, who has brothers, who has nieces, who has nephews, a lot of nephews and a lot of uncles, and I'm one that favor men. So, however, Roxy, how do we begin this process? I'm so excited about you being on air and getting ready to do some great things. You know I'm rooting for you.
You're my greatest cheerleader, and I tell you, if you don't have a Margot, get you one. Get you one real soon. I guess, you know, we always have more talk than we have time, but I guess I will leave this formula my mother left me. Okay. It's called PMS. Now, in a woman's world, that ain't a good thing.
No, ma'am.
But in a man's world, I told her she could run men: power, money, and sex. She said, if you can get those three things under control, you can lead. Because those are the three things that always devastate a leader. And so for me, I had to understand each component in order to come to an understanding of leadership. I don't want to be distracted or detoured because I didn't pay attention to the lesson. The other thing she always taught us is, you can get this lesson free, but if you don't get it from me, you're going to buy this lesson and it's going to cost you too much. And that's the thing I leave with a lot of you. You're either going to learn the lesson or you're going to buy the lesson. That's a Lillian legacy. And I bought too many lessons not to share with our young people who she was, why she was like she was, and how you can be a Lillian in your own right. And so, you know, I am just excited about what we're going to do, but I am going to, as you say, pay homage to the woman that went before me. And RoxaMillion Unleashed means my mom ain't here. I can say what I want to say. It's my show. She taught me ownership of your own stuff. You can say what you want to say, censored, of course, and have a sense of reality. That is a reality that you create. And that's what RoxaMillion Unleashed is. We are creating our own reality. I don't have to watch television. It won't be television programming. They will not be programming my mind. I will be programming their mind. How about that?
I like that. And in closing, I just want to thank you for allowing me to sit in. And this happens to be the second show, but I hope it airs as the first show. But however, Rox, listen, girl, listen. The leash has been unleashed.
Yes.
I can feel the spirit flying all over everywhere. Do what you do best, and don't play games.
Well, here's
And
what
don't compromise.
I'm not going to compromise, and here's what I say from a little girl who lost her mother. God provides. There are so many other women around you, and when I talk about a model of mamahood, don't look for the mother in them, look for the mama in them. You heard it from RoxaMillion. I'm signing out saying I love you, I bless you, and I will continue to appreciate you.
His
Stay
brand new
tuned.
piece from his brand new The Dorm Room EP. I'm gonna have to let spoken word do what it does best and let it speak for itself. Brand new Sully Breaks.
Right now, there is a kid finishing parents' evening in a heated discussion with his mother, saying, why does he have to study subjects he will never ever use in his life? And she will look at him blank-eyed, stifle a sigh, think for a second, and then lie. She'll say something along the lines of, you know, to get a good job you need a good degree, and these subjects will help you get a good degree. We never had this opportunity when I was younger. And he will reply, but you were young a long time ago, weren't you, Mum? And she won't respond, although what he implies makes perfect sense, that society's needs would have changed since she was 16. But she will ignore him, grip his hand more sternly, then drag him to the car. But what she doesn't know is that she didn't ignore him just to shut him up. She didn't lie because they were just returning from parents' evening and an argument in the hallway would look bad on her resume. She won't lie because she's just spent the last 1 hour convincing a stern-faced teacher that she will ensure that her child studies more at home. No, she will lie simply because she does not know any better herself. Although her whole adult life she has never used or applied Pythagoras' theorem, pathetic fallacy, and still does not know the value of X. She will rely on society to tell her that her child, who has one of the sharpest minds in the school, is hyperactive, unfocused, easily distracted, and wayward. Students, how many equations, subjects, and dates did you memorize just before an exam never to use again? How many A grades did you get which were never asked for when you applied for a job? How many times have you remembered something 5 minutes just after the teacher said stop writing, only to receive your results 1 month later to realize that you were only 1 mark short of the top grade? Does that mean remembering 5 minutes earlier would have made you more qualified for a particular job? Well, on the application form it would have. We all have different abilities, thought processes, experiences, and genes. So why is a class full of individuals tested by the same means? So does that mean Sherelle thinks she's dumb because she couldn't do a couple of sums? And if this issue is not addressed properly, it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then every school has the audacity to have a policy on equality. The irony. Exams are society's methods of telling you what you're worth. But you can't let society tell you what you are, because it's the same society that tells you that abortion is wrong but then looks down on teenage parents. The same society that sells products to promote natural hair, looks and smooth complexion with the model on the box half photoshopped and has fake lashes and